All right, question number 5, it says to use the LCD to simplify the complex fractions. And so in part A, we're looking at the expression 3/4 minus 1/2, all divided by 5/8 plus 3. Now, one way we could go about simplifying this is just to, well, combine what you see in the numerator, combine what you see in the denominator, and then divide those resulting fractions. And that would work perfectly well. But an alternative way to solve this that will be really useful in some of these problems down the line is to use the LCD. And so when I'm talking about the LCD here, I'm referring to the LCD for all of these fractions. So the denominator is 2, 4, and 8. And our LCD here is 8. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this entire numerator and this entire denominator by 8. And multiplying something by 8 over 8 is really just multiplying it by 1, so I'm not going to change the numerical value of this expression. And the benefit of multiplying each of these terms by 8 is that I'm going to essentially clear out the fractional stuff, as we'll see. So what's 8 times 3/4? Well, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. And then I'm going to subtract from that a half of 8, and that would be 4. And then downstairs I have 8 times 5/8, and the 8s would just divide out, so that would just leave me with 5. And then I'm going to get plus 3 times 8, which is 24. So that simplifies to 2/29. All right, pretty nice. How about part B? It's A divided by 1/2 B. And so here, if I want to use the LCD, it's really just this one fraction here I'm referencing. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by, in this case, just 2. And that's going to give us a 2a on top. And on bottom, notice the 2 here and the 2 here will divide out, and that's just going to leave us with b in the denominator, and that is it. All right. For part C, we have x plus x over 2 all divided by 2 minus x over 3. So now our denominators are 2 and 3. So our LCD would be 6. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 6. And when we distribute, just we saw in the last example, or the last part A, right? We're going to clear out all the fractional stuff, basically. So we're going to get 6 times x is 6x. And then 6 times x over 2, well, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And that 3 will multiply that x, so I'll get 3x there. All right, downstairs, 6 times 2 is 12, minus x over 3 times 6. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, and that'll multiply the x, give me 2x. And now I can go ahead and just combine the 6x and 3x upstairs, and that's going to give us a 9x. And then we're dividing by 12 minus 2x. Okay, so now that's as far as we can go here. You could factor the denominator by taking out a 2, but that's not going to lead to any further simplification. So it's fine just to leave it this way. All right, and then on to D. Our denominators here are x plus 3 and 3. So our LCD now will be what? We'll need a 3 as well as the x plus 3. So I'm going to multiply this numerator and this denominator by this LCD. All right. So when we go ahead and distribute the LCD to each term up here in the numerator, we're going to get what? Well, the 3 times x plus 3 will distribute, and notice this x plus 3 and this x plus 3 will cancel, and we'll be left with just this 3 left over, right? That's nice. And then when you distribute here, you're going to lose the 3's, and you're going to be left with x plus 3. Okay. Now downstairs, I have x times 3 times the quantity x plus 3. Now, I could potentially multiply that all out, but in fact, I don't recommend you do that. And the reason why is that if we want to simplify things down the line, right, to simplify a rational expression, you always want things in factored form. And so if we were to multiply that all out, we'd likely have to factor it back out down the line anyway. So let's just go ahead and leave it in factored form. So I'm just going to write this as 3, I'll put the coefficient, the numerical coefficient first. So 3x times x plus 3. Okay, great. And so now let's go ahead and clean up this numerator, and I'll start by distributing this negative. And so I'll have 3 minus x minus 3, and then we're dividing all that by 3x times the quantity 3x plus 3. And then these 3's are going to drop out there and there, so we'll be left with negative x over 3x times x plus 3. And then lastly, notice there's an x here and an x there, so I can divide those out. And so now we're going to be left with a negative 1 all over 3 times the quantity x plus 3. Okay, and that's going to do it for part D. And then finally for E, we have a plus c all over 2, and then we're subtracting from that a over 2, and then that entire thing is getting divided by c. Alright, so here I'll go ahead and multiply this numerator and this denominator by our LCD, which in this case would just be 2, right? Because I just have this denominator and this denominator. And so now, if you distribute, all that's going to happen is you're going to just get rid of the 2's, right? So the 2 will distribute here, it'll cancel, and you'll be left with a plus c. When you distribute here, the 2's will cancel, and you'll be subtracting then an a. And then downstairs, I have c times 2, which is equal to 2c. And then these a's will drop out, leaving us with just a c on top. And that's being divided by 2c. And so then I can go ahead and divide out that common factor of c, and so when all is said and done, this simplifies to just 1/2. Okay, well that's going to do it for this problem. I'll see you in the next video.